Hey yo everyone, this is JiggsVI with a brand new Dragon Ball Talk / review, and it's about Dragon Ball R&R Episode 2. But before I get into that, I just want to say that I actually did an Episode 1 review of this, and if anyone out there is unfamiliar with this fan-made Dragon Ball series, it's from MasakoX's channel, and that he did a What If Raditz Turned Good a vlog or blog discussion series, and made it into a fan-made series, so called Dragon Ball R&R. So I would highly recommend watching those before watching my reviews of episode 1 and my current review right now. So I would suggest please stop right here. Now moving on with the review. So I just want to say, so the one thing I want to say about is this one point is to talk about the whole thing of this episode 2, and that is the art style with its animation tweaks and animated motions put here and there. And to me, that it looks better than episode 1, but there was just one little mishap in this episode 2 around near the ending that we'll be talking about later. But I will say it looks like it improved much more. It doesn't look stiff at all. It looks like it was drawn a little more nicely, and how I see more original motions and then reuse stuff. So that's one thing I gotta talk about right there, which is a really good job right there. And then at the very start of the episode, I see a nightmare dream sequence, which actually felt really good in my opinion. That it felt that Goten, it really hits him, noticing that hey, he's in the shadows and the others don't recognize his potential anymore. And so he realizes that hey, he's so much like his father. You know, with the hairdo and the way he dresses. And I'm yeah, this I have to stop right here and point out this is also concerning with the Dragon Ball franchise. Yeah, with the likes of Goten, he's always been having we've always been having mostly trouble with him, and seeing how we saw him in Dragon Ball Z around the Majin Buu saga and the Great Saiyaman saga, is that yeah, we don't see him that much different than his own dad. I think the only difference is that his brain tends to develop a little bit more or so, but we just don't see that much of a difference from his own old man, right? So luckily MasakoX did touch upon Goten's character a little bit more in his What If Raditz Turned Good discussion blog series, whatever you want to call it. And not just making Raditz feel brand new in this series, and adding in Ranch, who is Raditz's daughter, but also to see Goten develop to be his own character, to stand out more. So I really like how this episode 2 is going. So I really like how episode 2 is really going for. Sorry, I had to repeat that. To see how Goten is gonna become his own person. He's gonna grow up to be his own fighter or character, later on in the future, right? For Dragon Ball R&R, so that's really cool. In Dragon Ball GT and at the end of Z, though, it seems like Goten doesn't care about fighting anymore. He just wants to date girls, and I'm oh great. So that's how Goten is now, huh? Yeah, I'm gonna stick with Dragon Ball R&R. Gotta be a Goten fan now. So yeah, I really like this direction, and I just gotta say, there's actually some minor problems I have with one of the voice actors, though. It's actually really nice seeing the other characters being presented here, because in episode 1 it was actually being pretty basic with the already established characters, such as, well, mainly we just get to see Goku, Chi-Chi, and Vegeta and Bulma in there, of course. But we also get to see like Goten, Ranch, and Trunks, and the new Raditz, right? And also like good launch. And plus the voice acting in there was actually really good. But for episode 2 though, its minor problems with the voice actors is that like, okay, I see like a forced joke thrown in here, considering that Goten was trying to look for some help to see if anyone could help him change his image, such as mainly his hair for now. Is that like he was asking like you know, his mother, Trunks, and it seems like Vegeta was actually found it kind of endearing to see Goten wants to become something a little bit much more to be as his own person than being like his own father. So but it seems like Vegeta was still being somewhat harsh in it, but he seems like he's much more calmer in this episode, the way I see it. But he's still a strict guy. Vegeta's Vegeta, right? So he ended up meeting with Roshi, Krillin, Tien, and Chaozu at Kame House for some advice about his hair. And those 4 characters I mentioned are bald.
'Cause you are bald this way, baby.
I'm like, I knew that was gonna come up eventually. I mean like, and I just think it was kind of forced, and I really think that Android 18 should have been there, maybe change things up a bit. And I know that episode 1 and 2 are supposed to be like based off on the What If videos, right, that MasakoX is doing, but I really wish that he could make them slightly more different and not a bit too accurate in my perspective. That way it can stand out on its own a little bit. It'll be nice, like, if Goten was willing to change his hair, he would have gotten some advice from Android 18, right, and maybe Marin as well. But oh well, that's just the way I think. And the way I hear like Krillin's voice and Bad Launch's voice, hear me out on this one, okay? They don't sound bad, but I think they're kind of struggling to get the voices right. It seems like they're trying to like mostly just impersonating the characters that I really like, you know, like Krillin from like Dragon Ball Z and Launch from the original Dragon Ball series, and that like with the Krillin voice, it sounds like the person is trying a bit too hard to capture like either the Sony straight voice or maybe like the TFS Krillin voice, or maybe the Ocean's dub Krillin voice. To me, like the person is actually trying his best to sound like his own Krillin. So I respect for that, but it seems like he's trying so hard to like capture the other voices and not as his own. You know what I mean? But at least I could still give the guy some effort, you know. But I still think he needs some work on it and to sound a little more natural. And speaking of natural, with the Bad Launch voice, it doesn't sound bad, but it sounds a little bit goofy. I mean, I like the presentation, but for the Bad Launch voice, but I gotta say, it sounds dangerously close to slapping the squirrel from Animaniacs.
In fact, in later years, I'll become downright obsessed with that memory. Yeah, I'll spend years tracking you down, and when I find you, I'll give you exactly what you deserve, you no-good, heartless, half-witted yuts!
Yeah. So I really think that that the voice actress needs to improve on her Bad Launch voice as well. Again, it doesn't sound bad, but it sounds dangerously close to much more slapping the squirrel than sounding like Bad Launch from the actual show. But I mean, at least the person was trying to sound. At least the person was trying to like sound as the character's own thing in Dragon Ball R&R. But I still. But to me, it didn't sound too much natural for my taste. And now, to touch upon the close ending scenario I was talking about earlier, is that like this one, I have to say it looked pretty bad in my opinion. I'm not gonna lie, it really was, because seeing Gohan being presented on a laptop, I'm like, okay, that's kind of nice, but he looks like rushly made to put in there. I'm not gonna lie, like the art style looks a little off. It seems like this episode was like done nicely, very slowly, but it seems like they done Gohan completely rushed in my opinion. And the way also the way like the motion is and that like they're only sticking with one still image, it's just, it looks really way off in my opinion. And the voice acting for Gohan, I'm like, it sounds okay. It sounds okay. I know he's supposed to sound like that he's stressed out, but it still needs some work, you know. But I may be giving it a hard time for just this little scenario and this episode at the close end. But I had to point that out. I really think that really needs to be improved as well. Maybe if that's gonna happen in future episodes. Again, just to see Gohan on the laptop. Yeah, that's all I have to say about this episode. It's better than episode 1, but it just had but it still had minor problems of its own. I would actually recommend checking like episode 1 of my review out, and I will actually leave links in the description below to check out like again my episode 1 review and the episode 2 for MasakoX's channel, and maybe like and I don't think I could like link his channel just to look at what it is, right? You can just go check his stuff out, right? So yeah, that's all I had to say. So yeah, that's all I have to say. This has been GXVL signing off right now. Instant transmission out.